Thank you for joining us today. We are at Nathan Hall in Rose Hill for the second annual fundraiser for Meals on Wheels. We've got Jan Warren, the executive director. Hey, Jan.
Hey, Jan.
And Tom Adams, who is the president of the board for Meals on Wheels. And this is a really important fundraising effort for Meals on Wheels. And of course, so many of us know something about Meals on Wheels, but we want to learn more today. And so we're going to be talking to you, and then a little bit later, you've got a great speaker coming.
We do.
It looks like you're expecting a big crowd, Jan. Is that true?
We are. We're expecting about 120 people today. So,
wonderful. And the fundraiser you had at the farmers market was a big success too, wasn't it?
That really was. That was well received, and we raised our goal. So we had a great fundraiser back in the fall, and we plan on doing that again this fall.
Wait, for people who might not be familiar, might have heard the name but don't really know exactly what you all do, how about telling us about it?
Certainly. Well, we are a nutritional program for senior citizens who are homebound, who don't have the physical or mental ability to prepare a meal for themselves anymore. And so we deliver a hot meal to them Monday through Friday and provide some socialization for them while they're at home and homebound.
And what kind of socialization?
Well, there's an interaction between the volunteers who deliver the meal and also the seniors who are receiving it. And for me, as a volunteer, that's the greatest part of Meals on Wheels and what really sold me on it, Jane. One of my favorite quotes by Mother Teresa is, "The need for love is harder to fill than the need for food." And I think Meals on Wheels really helps in both areas. For some of our folks, we're the only contact they have all day.
Wow.
And so it's a chance to have some social interaction with somebody that cares. And it's also a check for the families at least once a day. Someone's seen their senior and in some ways has been able to assess how they're doing. And many times our volunteers will contact the coordinator and say, "Mrs. Smith just didn't seem quite right today. You might want to call her daughter and have her go by and check on her." And I think that's very important and helps the peace of mind of the senior and their families.
Oh, absolutely. Well, how many volunteers do you have, Jan?
We have about 400 volunteers a month.
Great.
I know, it's
Do you
a
need
wonderful.
more?
We do. We are in the process. We have a waiting list right now, so we're in the process of trying to start 2 new routes, which is going to require us to have 4 new volunteers a day. So we're looking for more volunteers to fill out the rest of the routes for us, and we're going to start that in June.
What are the criteria to be a volunteer?
We-
Other than you want to. I love seniors.
That's right. You need to have the ability to go out on a route. We ask our volunteers to come in pairs, and we ask them to, it takes about an hour to an hour and a half of their time during the day. If they come to us on their own, we do a little bit of a background check, just because with today, we have to be very careful with our seniors, but it's very minimal, and we ask them to come, and we'll go through a training with them and then send them out.
Basically, it's the willingness and a vehicle and a driver's license. And many of our volunteers come through churches or other organizations that will take a day and will sort of organize within their church or within their club the people to come, and that works well. But individuals can volunteer, and we'll match them up. Jan is great about adapting and adapting to whatever the needs are, and is very flexible. So I would encourage anyone.
Pair. I think that's a good idea. You want to? Is that a requirement just for safety, or?
It is not. We've just implemented it because, one, it makes it easier on the driver because we give you a set of directions about how to get to each house, and it's very specific, so you don't want to be reading and driving at the same time. And 2, it's a safety issue. If anything arises on the route, you have someone else there with you to help and coordinate. So,
And do people keep the same people to whom they deliver for a while? It sounds like you've gotten pretty attached to yours,
Yes,
Tom.
generally that's the case. you're assigned a route that is helpful in the sense of getting to know the folks and them getting to know you, but also in finding your way around, so you're not having to resort to a set of directions every time. Most of us, though, over time do several routes because we'll switch with people, we'll volunteer to fill in when someone's out of town. So over time, you sort of have a home route, but you end up getting to meet a lot of other folks too. And Brack Townsend, I think, says, he's one of our long-term volunteers, says that we keep all kinds of statistics about the number of meals we serve and the number of volunteers. He keeps a statistic on the number of smiles he gets each day. And I think that sort of says it for many of us that volunteer.
Yeah, wow. Wait, and I think one thing that you brought up, that y'all fill in when somebody can't do it. So Jan, people don't need to say, well, I go out of town every now and then, so I can't do this.
No.
That's not an impediment, is it?
Absolutely not. If they'll let us know ahead of time, we have a list of volunteers who will even come, right, like Tom, who will even come, at the last minute if we need them to. So we always we can fill in with substitutes when we need to. And some people, it depends on their schedule. Usually everybody does 1 day a month, whatever their route is that they want to do.
It's not overwhelming.
It's not. And it's one of those things, Jean, where you go out on that route and you meet the people on there, you immediately know afterwards that you've made a difference in their lives, and it makes you feel better. So it's a volunteer opportunity that you're going to get as much from as the people that you're serving.
Were you a volunteer before you became the executive
I
director?
was.
It sounds like you were.
I was a volunteer for about 12 years before they asked me to come and be the executive director. So I loved it.
This community is such a generous community. We often talk about how wonderful it is, and in the ratings for Rocky Mountain in the state and nationally for how caring. So I'm glad that you have so many volunteers. I know one of the new owners of Almonds, the wife of one of them, first thing she said was, I want to go volunteer for Meals on Wheels.
Yeah.
Great.
So the reputation of wanting to know that you make a difference. Tom, I want you to give us a couple of personal examples, of course anonymously, but I want you to help create the scene when you go to the door. Besides those smiles, what are some of the things that have really tugged at your heartstrings?
I think the interest in what's going on in the world. For many of the folks we talk to, again, they don't have a lot of personal contact, so they want to know about your family. They want to know about where they might go to school, what's happening, maybe even with the town council, or we always talk about the weather, but about their family too. You get to know their granddaughter just graduated, or their grandson is going to college, or
See
one
pictures?
of them was
Did they show you pictures?
Oh,
yeah.
They're always out, so they're always there to be for conversation, and you get to meet their family, because many of these folks have family that visit them, and a number of them have folks that are there routinely to help them out. So it becomes an extended family almost, and I think we've had occasions when we've invited them and they've invited us to weddings and other graduations. So it does become personal and very, very moving and rewarding.
Go ahead, Jan.
And I was going to say too, we talked about how a volunteer will do the same route each time. Well, the volunteers get to know the clients, but on the other side, the clients get to know the volunteers. And frequently when that volunteer changes, the clients will call me and say, well, where is Mr. Jones? I haven't seen him. He was supposed to be here on that regular Wednesday. And so the clients get just as much out of it as the volunteers do.
But the clients get a hot meal Monday through Friday.
They do.
Where do the dollars come besides events such as this to help pay for that?
We have funding from our local United Way, the Tar River Region United Way. We also get a federal block grant, which covers Nash and Edgecombe County. And then we have support from within the community, churches and individuals that give to us on an annual basis, which helps round out. And then in addition, our fundraisers, the Beans and Brews, which we had in the fall, and then the luncheon. This luncheon that we're having today.
And based on ability to pay, some of the seniors do contribute to their meals.
There's a cost sharing that we discuss with them when we go out. It's usually not much. It's a small portion of their meal, but they usually want to try and contribute back. And so everybody tries to participate in the cost sharing. And usually, I would say with the exception of maybe 10%, those people give back. Now, it might only be a few dollars a month, but they do what they can, and so they want to feel like they're participating too.
And where are the meals prepared?
We contract with the hospital, Nash Healthcare Systems.
Great.
They do our meals for us. It's a heart healthy meal, it's low sodium, and so it's approved for all of the medical needs that our clients have. And we discovered several years ago that the clients were not eating well on the weekends. They were doing more fast food, prepared things, cereal, anything that they could put together quickly. And so we made some phone calls and started a frozen meal program for the weekend. So now on Friday, they get their hot meal and one or two, depending on what their needs are, frozen meals for the weekend for them to put in the microwave and have while we're gone. It's the same low sodium, heart healthy meal, so it's better nutritionally for them than what they had been eating.
That's wonderful. I had no idea.
And we are one of the few Meals on Wheels programs in in North Carolina that's doing that.
But all that's prepared at Nash Healthcare Systems.
Yes.
Nash UNC Healthcare Systems.
Yes.
UNC now, that's right.
And they've been wonderful to work
They
with.
do a great job.
They are.
And where do the volunteers pick up the meals?
They meet at First Presbyterian Church downtown, and that's our meal distribution site. The hospital will bring our food to us already plated and ready to go, kind of in bulk in containers. We put it in a heating cabinet at First Presbyterian and keep it hot until the volunteers get there, and then we package it in thermal bags for them and send them out on the routes.
When I drive back behind there sometimes, and I always give thumbs up to
Yeah.
those out there loading it. And you've got, a cross-section of volunteers. There's some people who are probably as old as people to whom they're delivering them, but
They are.
they just, it's such a, it's got to be really fulfilling.
It really is. And we've had sports teams, the Wesleyan football team has
Yeah.
helped us out. High schools have come and volunteered. So I think that intergenerational contact is really important, and it really is popular with the seniors when some folks that are are in college or high school come by and see.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, they
It's
love
like
the children,
my grandchild
yeah.
or my
Yeah.
whomever.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk for just a minute, and then we are going to have show some of the remarks of the speaker here today.
Great.
So stay with us, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Are you just starting out on your own and want to be independent? Do you have a family and need a bigger home? Are the kids moving out? And are you downsizing? First Carolina Realty can help. A 1 or 2 bedroom apartment or house for those starting out. A 3 or 4 bedroom home for a growing family. Rentals, sales, new homes, pre-owned homes, investment property in the city or in the country. Call First Carolina Realty. Now is a good time to make that move. Real estate prices are right, interest rates are low, and there is a fantastic selection of homes available.
First Carolina Realty is a fully licensed real estate firm with offices at 3151 Zebulon Road in Rocky Mount.
If you have rental properties and are tired of the headaches associated with managing them yourself, or if you're looking for a new management team to manage your rental properties, call First Carolina Realty at 252-985-2321. Visit our webpage at firstcarolinarealty.com. We will gladly help you with all your real estate needs.
Hi, I'm Jean Almond of Almond's Drugs, and I want to invite you to be Almond's customer for your prescriptions. Our average pharmacy wait for your prescription is only 10 to 15 minutes. We have drive-through windows at both locations. We will deliver your prescription free. Our friendly and very experienced pharmacists specialize in consultation, and we are locally owned and have been a loyal part of your community for over 70 years. Just make one phone call to us and we'll make the transfer so we can start taking care of you.
Janet, Tom, it's filling up, and it looks like the number of tables that you are having a really good turnout here at the fundraiser for Meals on Wheels.
That's wonderful. We're so excited.
What's the name of the speaker today?
It's Kim Brame McJimsey, and she's from Breakthrough Health out of Raleigh.
And she's going to speak on mindfulness. And if you're like I am, I didn't know what that is. But Tom, tell us what it is.
Well, I don't know much about it, so it won't take me long to tell you what I know. I have seen recently some things on TV. I think 60 Minutes has done something, and CNN. I know that Anderson Cooper did a piece on it and several others, so it's in the news. And it basically has to do with being aware of the present, keeping yourself in the present, and it also an aspect of not being judgmental about yourself first and about others secondly. And both Anderson Cooper and a couple of the other news folks that went in there were a little cynical about it. They both admitted in their pieces that they didn't expect, they thought this was sort of new age, gobbledygook maybe, but when they got into it, they really began to apply some of the principles to their own lives, and both of them that I saw said on camera it had been life-changing for them. So I'm excited to hear her again and learn more about it.
Well, good. Me too. I'm looking forward to that. I would love to have it be more in the moment.
That's right.
I mean, it's a goal we all ought to have,
Yeah.
not to be judgmental.
yeah.
So let's take a look.
Now, we know as volunteers how great it feels to help other people. What you're doing is vital. The key is that you can only give your best self when you're taking care of yourself. Meals on Wheels invited me to speak today because they're hoping I can help you unlock this gift of mindfulness for your own health and well-being. This is a thank you. Thank you. My jacket is making part of the problem apparently. This is a thank you for the time, the talent, the treasures you share generously so that no senior is lonely and without a meal. My presentation is interactive and is packed full of lots of information you'll want to remember. So feel free to learn, to take notes, to laugh, to participate. You have handouts on your chair. They're there for your convenience to jot down anything you might want to remember. Also, at the same time, relax and have fun, enjoying how mindfulness might change your life. So, the magic word for the day, pause. And it's magic because it has so many meanings. For example, you paused in the middle of your busy day to show your support, yet again, for Meals on Wheels. Earlier, I asked you to pause and just be present. Now, I want to introduce this acronym. Is a 5-step method to cultivate your best self. P is for prioritize, and I mean prioritize yourself. How many in the room can raise their hand and honestly say, I make myself a priority? All right, we've got one. Yeah, very seldom are we able to make that claim. Why is that? Why do we not do this? We give to everyone else and to everything else, and we don't save time and energy for ourselves. So I'm challenging you to move yourself up on your own priority list. If you don't do this, who will? Are you worth it? I want you to look at the person next to you. And I want you to say 3 times, emphatically, be convincing, you are worth it, you are worth it, you are worth it. You are worth it. You are worth it. And so now I'm going to assume that you have officially moved yourself up on your own priority list. But now that you're there, how do you stay there? Right? Well, those people who are most successful in prioritizing themselves are connected to 3 things. The first is their optimal health vision. They know what they want to look like, what they want to feel like, what activities they want to be engaged in as they age. I'm going to give you a quick glimpse of my optimal health vision. I want to ride bikes with my husband. I want to be running around with my grandkids. I want to be having fun with my girlfriends. I also want to be able to do a headstand as I age. And then essential to that is my faith. What is your vision? The second, values. Values determine how you behave. Successful people in this area, they know what brings them joy and happiness. They know what they want their health for. So when you look at my vision, what values jump out at you? Faith, family, friends, freedom, purpose. What are your values? Once you're connected to your vision and your values, the third one is easy, which are goals. All right, I know if I want my health to be active in these ways, I need to move my body at least 5 days a week. And that may mean walking with a girlfriend, it may be going to a class at the Y, it may be biking with my husband. What are your goals? A, awaken your awareness. We're typically more connected to our mind being full. Wouldn't you say? That whole idea of forgetfulness, mindlessness is something we're more connected to. That's about being distracted, being tuned out, being on automatic pilot. It's worrying about my retirement plan or about the college tuition of my 5-year-old. Maybe it's judging some decision I made in college or a comment I made to my husband yesterday or last week. It's analyzing the possible meaning of what just happened in that meeting. These are all natural activities of the brain in every human being, and there's nothing wrong with them. But the capacity of mindfulness, stillness, and peace is also in every human being. For example, the moment you know you're feeling a breeze on your face, before you start thinking about it, that moment is a moment of mindfulness. Also, imagine the warmth you feel with a coffee cup or a tea cup in your hand, and that feeling draws you back to that present moment. That moment of knowing is mindfulness. So this essence of mindfulness is universal. It is not dependent on any belief system or any ideology, so its benefits are accessible for everyone to test for themselves. Now, Jon Kabat-Zinn is this guru on mindfulness, and he founded in 1979 a mindfulness-based stress reduction program at the University of Massachusetts. Now, since that time, now you can find this 8-week program in over 500 locations around the world, including hospitals, medical centers, clinics, and it's used to address chronic pain, depression, anxiety, sleep issues, PTSD, and high blood pressure, just to name a few things. Now, he defines mindfulness. He defines mindfulness as the awareness that arises by paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. And let me just point out, a little handout, you've got these boxes on the left-hand side. That first box, put a P. In the second box, put an A. That's how we're going to keep track of where we are today. So mindfulness, definition. So this gives us a working definition of mindfulness, but what's important about that? Why do we need it? What's important about awakening our awareness? So to demonstrate, I'd like to invite you into a short exercise where I'm going to ask you to close your eyes for just a moment. With your eyes closed, I want you to think of a recent stressful event in your life. Maybe it was a disagreement with a loved one, or maybe someone dropped the ball at the office and created more work for you. But think about the people involved, what was said. What were the physical sensations in your body? Maybe your muscles tensed, your heart began to beat faster, your breathing rate increased. What were your thoughts? Maybe you thought, wow, what a jerk. Or, how could they do that to me? How did that make you feel? Maybe you felt angry, hurt, irritated. What did you do next? Did you yell? Did you withdraw? Were you pleased with the way you handled the situation? Or maybe ashamed and embarrassed? Now open your eyes. What you just replayed in your mind is an automatic stress response. As you can see, there's a stressful trigger in your life. And this is the same as that fight, flight, or freeze response, which might be more familiar to you. So there's a stress trigger that your brain is going to register as a threat.
That was really quite a good speech, wasn't it?
It was.
And I'm gonna try and apply it to my life and be a better person for it, which anybody who's volunteered for Meals on Wheels has to be a better person because of that experience. And Brack, I think you're one of the longest term volunteers with this, so tell us why.
Well, you know, the good book says it's better to give than to receive. What I have found is that as a volunteer, I do give my time and I deliver a meal. I give someone who's homebound a meal, but I receive so much more than what I give. I get smiles and hugs and people that you connect with. Mr. Chadwick just died, but he would call me and say, I haven't heard from you in a while. How are you doing?
Wow.
So it was one of those experiences that makes 1 hour a month so worthwhile.
How long have you done it, Brack? How many years?
Best I can tell, Meals on Wheels has been around for more than 30 years. I wish I had a date on that.
I heard 25 was mentioned, that you might have been doing it for 25 years.
Well, I started out, we had one route coming from the YMCA when we first started, and I don't think I did that route, but it's been a long time, and it's one of those things. Rocky Mount has a lot of nonprofits, but Meals on Wheels is one of those that just has to survive. It's one of those, we've just got to make sure that we keep Meals on Wheels going.
And you want to give a challenge to people who might be thinking about being volunteers, why you would encourage them to do it?
Well, it's again, I think you get so much from it that it's an experience that that makes it so worthwhile.
And it sticks with you. Lifelong friends, too.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Sure
Thank
enough.
you for your service, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.